You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guest, Abdul Malik Kpebu, co-editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. He's a rights activist. Dr. Ken Ashibe is convener, Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Kofi Bentil is lawyer and senior vice president, Imani Africa. And Dr. Charles Rekubrobe, Chief Policy Analyst, Ghana Institute of Public Policy Options. Gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you and welcome to Newsfile. Thanks for making the time.
Good morning.
Right. So we begin with the matter that has so vexed the First Lady and the Second Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo and Samira Bawumia, so much so that they issued press statements early this week saying that you people in Ghana, you like talking too much. So, and some of the manner in which you have been commenting is not good at all. You make them appear that they don't have the interests of the people at heart. So, take your money. They are refunding your money back to you, and they are not interested in it. I do not know if it includes all the conditions that they are supposed to enjoy now and when they are out of office, but let's get to deal with these. So this is like a continuation from what we started last week. Let me get back to Kofi Bentil. You were so uncharitable with the subject matter, except that in principle you supported the some sort of allowances to them. What do you make of the posture of the two sitting First Lady and Second Lady? Hello, Kofi.
Hello.
Yes,
hello,
please.
Thompson.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was asking if I was that uncharitable. I think maybe if we didn't get it well, let me say again. I said that, look, they have to be given something for the work they do. So in principle, I am not against payment. However, because over the 20 years or so of this republic, we have had a situation where essentially we have, ended up with a predatory elite. Nobody trusts that anybody is doing anything out of the goodness of their heart. And to that extent, therefore, I said those payments that were made based more or less on discretion will never be trusted by a population which feels abused by its, political class. That therefore means if we are to do anything going forward which people will trust, then it must be compatible with law. And I suggested that the best way out, based on a number of, things that could be done, would be to give the president a spousal allowance, a certain percentage of their salary as spousal allowance, which then will go to take care of these things. Now, what has come out of that whole discussion is the return of the allowances paid to the First Ladies. I can understand their sentiments. I absolutely can understand it.
So this is what the First Lady said. Let me read just one paragraph of her statement. She said, the public discussion has been laced with some extremely negative opinions, in some cases, which she finds distasteful, seeking to portray her as a venal, self-serving, and self-centered woman who does not care about the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If she was my sister, she was my auntie, my mother, I will feel the same way, because much as we may be having a policy discussion around the issue, we may be having a proprietary discussion, should we do it or not, and how should we do it? We could have had those discussions clean of the suggestions that were made. And those suggestions were made by people who had political leanings and people who did not have political leanings. And as a person, as a noble person, I expect that she will be offended. I did not think it would get to the point where she will return the money, but I do understand why she has to return the money. It, however, does not stop the issue. It doesn't stop the conversation. I mean, on a personal level, she can say, I don't want it. I have a view that we should, if we did it the way I'm suggesting to make it legally compatible, we should get to a point where it is not the prerogative of the First Lady to say, I will or will not do it. Because if we have heads of state attending, a conference in Ghana, etc., whether she likes it or not, for the sake of the nation, she has to perform some duties. This is why, again, I repeat, as has been done for multinational CEOs, etc., let us give the president a certain percentage of his salary as a spousal allowance to take care of the duties that first ladies have to perform. Now, if there are other things that the state requires them to do, the state should properly resource them to do it. I disagree that some people say they should find work. If we allow first ladies to work, the cost of security alone and disruption alone will be far more than what it costs us to, allow them to just perform state duties and be safe. And God forbid, if we have a security situation like, say, a kidnap, all right, of a first lady, you would understand what it means when we say they should not expose themselves. We'll have to deploy the whole Ghana army because it will be an action against the state. So, in short, I do understand why the first lady has done, first and second ladies have done what they have done. I think it's unfortunate. And I think that the state must not have this kind of tense relationship with first ladies. They must always be put on a pedestal. They must be gracious persons who, even though they are not literally mothers of the nation, must be seen in that light. Okay, so I think we should find a solution to this quickly. And if there's anything that can be done to assuage the feelings of the first and second ladies.
Reading the letter, do you understand that the rejection goes to, for example, what has been provided for them as their conditions, the other emoluments? For example, spouse of the vice president. The report in page 74 says, it starts with payment of salary equivalent to cabinet minister, non-MP, as currently pertains. Then, when out of office, payment of salary equivalent to 80% of salary of minister of state, non-MP, if spouse served one full term as vice president, or 100% of salary of a minister of state, non-MP, if spouse served 2 or more full terms as vice president. Of course, you know that there are other benefits that are supposed to come to them whilst they are in office and when they are not in office. The facilities, including that of matters of accommodation and security and transportation as well. Do you understand that they are rejecting everything? Because they seem to speak about the money, only the money.
Well, it's my understanding that they are rejecting everything, and I think rightly so. Indeed, those recommendations are absolutely terrible. They are totally unjustified. Under what circumstance? It doesn't make sense in law. It doesn't make common sense. They are not ministers. They don't have the roles of ministers. We don't have a social contract with them. They do not account like ministers account. So there is no basis. I don't see a basis, in common sense, in law, in propriety, for us to do these things and pay them pensions on top of it when they are out of work. For what reason? And these are the reasons why people just don't trust that our leaders have the country at heart. So as for those recommendations, I think we should totally cancel all of them. They don't, fit at all. Okay. And so if they are being rejected, all well and good for every one of us. But the thing is, we must not just cast everything away. We cannot have a situation where first ladies and second ladies are refusing to do or perform state functions, or they are doing it reluctantly. So we still have to deal with this thing. If the
did you say we cannot have a situation where they are refusing to perform state functions?
Well, yes, it is their prerogative.
Why? Who has given them any state function to perform?
Well, you see, the thing is that statecraft, all right, requires that you have certain things in place. It is not becoming, it will not be nice if the president, for instance, is hosting other presidents or, doing statecraft, okay, and the first lady opts out. She's seen on a beach somewhere, or she's seen doing something else somewhere. You may say there's no law to it, but the truth of the matter is that it reflects on the country. So I'm saying we should not get to that point. I think they would do it. out of the goodness of their hearts. I think they would do it out of support for their husbands. I think they would do it because it is a noble office.
You like the best of examples, and sometimes we go to America. What does the situation there teach us about what you seem to desire that should be done for first ladies?
Well, you see, in America, one, they are not paid salaries, but they are giving maybe millions of dollars, a full office, proper state assistance in everything that they do. And they are required in certain situations, not by law, but by convention, to do something. For instance, decorating the White House. And the wife of President Trump had a problem with decorating the White House. Okay, once she did it and it was all red and people had a lot to say about it, the next time she was caught on tape using invectives and complaining that she had to do it, you know. And there are people who had issues with the fact that she wasn't staying in the White House. And there are pictures and videos of she performing state functions and slapping her husband's hand. Clearly, she was not that happy. You know, a lot has been said about her role as a reluctant first lady. And all of us have laughed about it. Okay, now, rolled together with the presidency of, you know, President Trump, we will take it in a certain way. Okay. But if, for instance, Michelle Obama had taken some of those stances, if she had done some of those things, hell would have broken loose in the U.S.
Okay, so let's
kinds of things. If we want to go there, we'll go there. But the point is, first and second ladies have roles they perform.
All right.
These roles are not assigned by law, but they are important in stage and state.
Thank you. Let's hear Martin Kpebu on this. And the concluding part, the First Lady said, in view of this, the First Lady, in consultation with the President of the Republic, has decided to refund all monies paid to her as allowances from the date of the President's assumption of office, i.e. from January to date, amounting to 899,000, is it? Yeah, almost 800. A million. Almost a million, yeah. Almost 900, yeah, almost 900. What do you say? Has the discussion been unfair to them, because she says that it's been distasteful? She finds some of it distasteful, portraying her as venal, self-serving, and self-centered woman who does not care about the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian. And if you have followed, they have started, her handlers have started to show us some of the charity she's been doing.
Okay. Yeah, so I must say that, look, she's done marvelous, okay, by returning the money. That's a mark of very high emotional intelligence, okay? Yes, it's a mark of very high emotional intelligence, because the facts on the ground show that millions of Ghanaians are suffering. So, I mean, it's very easy to understand why they will be mad at the First Lady being paid such a colossal sum of money, when in the first place, everything that they kind of enjoy at home is paid for by the taxpayer. We foot all the bills in their home state, okay? And the president is paid a salary. And then I've also added that, look, there's this part that, well, they have brought it on. There's this part that, look, practically, they make a lot more money that you and I don't see. I want to state it. Yes, Kufuor said it, that when you come into the office, companies fall over themselves, bringing gifts. Wah, wah, wah. Please, let's repeat. That's what President Kufuor said, and I love him for the honesty. So, look, this debate about this, what do you call it, 30,000 or 40,000, is neither here nor there. They shouldn't have allowed it to fester. No, when we all know practically that companies fall over themselves, bringing gifts, wah, 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 into millions. So, you know, it just shows that there was a bit of poor judgment. I would have rejected that money.
If the gifts encourage corruption, will it not be prudent to do this rather and then stop the gifts?
Samson, I'm happy you started with if. So if means that this is going to be a very complex debate. You and I don't have enough facts to go in there. Our systems are very porous. We are not yet there. So, and you see today you started with the word honesty. So if we want to be honest, about this topic, millions are made. Millions of dollars, not even Ghana cedis. So if you're honest, then you say that oh, this is like a windfall. It's not because you are that intelligent. That's why you make those millions. But it's just by virtue of the position. Companies are willing to donate. They are willing to be associated with your name and the rest. So you reject this paltry sum. Say, no, please. I don't want to have anything to do with it. That's the value of honesty. Like you say, it's in short supply. Because look, that one, anybody, any day, I would want to debate it. Millions are made, and I'm sure nobody even wants to debate.
She says she's rejecting it because of your reaction.
That one, you know what? That particular comment, I don't fault her for it. Let's be very practical once again. The reason I don't fault her for it is that it's normal. She's human. That having received so many invectives, she'll react. I don't fault her for 1 second on it. What I'm lauding today, what I'm most happy about is that she's recognized that they are enjoying too much, way more than the ordinary Ghanaian, and so she will return the 900,000. That is what I'll praise her for. That's been very practical. She's done well. Yes, because it's just so unfair. If you read the Professor Yan Tiamwa committee report, you would see throughout from page 1 to the end, they kept repeating that Ghanaians are unhappy. Ghanaians are unhappy about the salary disparities and the money that that's made from the presidency to MPs and all that. And the addition of presidential office holders, the staff at the presidency, through the Presidential Office Act, Act 463, through the back door, we've added hundreds of public servants onto the Article 71 list. Do you see it? So, and then Law Reform Commission, they've mentioned other examples. So what I'm saying is that when you read the report from the beginning to the end, you see that the committee kept reiterating, even Yana at a certain page. You find that, is it page 35, that the Yana, they made consultations. They consulted a number of eminent persons. Yana said, well, as you are thinking about raising the salaries of the president, the ministers, and the rest, don't forget the nurses and the teachers, without whom we will not have health and education, and this country will be the worse off for it. Okay, so when you go through the committee report, you would be left with one fact, one impression that, oh, this is a case of you scratch my back, I scratch your back. You see, so the committee is done in such a way that Parliament will approve a hefty sum for the presidency, then vice versa. You see, because they themselves, because it's a committee, they come with recommendations. They've shown that in trying to approve, then the presidency will vary the terms and the recommendations. You see, so what is implemented is not exactly what is given in the committee. Okay, right. So wrapping up on this, look, the First Lady is done extremely well by recognizing that, look, the disparity is just too huge, so she will give up the 900,000. Will allow the Second Lady for doing the same. She should soon bring it.
So Samira Baumia, she's also said she was going to refund. She has consulted with her husband, and she was going to refund everything, but ended by saying that she's committed to the services of the nation to deliver humanitarian interventions and initiatives in the areas of health, education, and economic empowerment. These are the things that they do.
Excellent. My last comment on it. So, yes, that's perfect. Oh, as for that one, they've all been doing it. They've all been doing it, and we are happy, okay? We are happy for it. It's good, all right? But let's bring in this point. I think at the beginning was a point made that the American First Lady could have made millions of dollars. I don't think that's correct, because even the American president receives $400,000 per annum. That's a salary that was, the last time it was reviewed, I think it was about 93. Then he has $100,000 for traveling allowances, then $50,000 for expenses. So I don't think the First Lady will be able to make millions formally. They make the money through book deals. When they leave, the speeches and all that, that is where the money is made. But whilst in office, it's not that rosy. The First Lady, the American First Lady, can't make millions. It's a traveling allowance.
Right.
And the clothing, people, designers donate. So they use the clothing, and then afterwards, the clothing are taken away and kept at National Archives.
Isn't that funny?
No, it's good. That's their culture. We also aspire to get there. And the First Lady, in this case, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, has shown the way. By rejecting this money, I believe we are going to develop a convention around it that the First Ladies will not take that direct
You know,
salary.
the TUC issued a statement, and I'm going to Dr. Charles Rekubrobe. Thank you so very much for making the time to join us on this discussion. The TUC issued a statement, and its biggest problem was with dealing with this under Article 71 for people who have no business under Article 71, because the Constitution doesn't mention them at all. And for calling it salaries, and the TUC takes time to define what salaries are supposed to be. It must be for a job holder. You are not holding any job, no job description giving you. So there is absolutely no basis for that. Then they actually made a call to the president, and they said, we would like to advise President Akufo-Addo to use all the powers accorded him by the Constitution of Ghana to stop the payment of the salaries to his wife and the wife of the vice president immediately until they are assigned official duties and responsibilities. The president should also ensure that all such payments made to his wife and the wife of the vice president are refunded immediately. So there was pressure on them to refund, not so. And Dr. Charles Rekubrobe, you also wrote, actually petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to stop it. That was the deed of the last parliament. This parliament doesn't have power over it. What do you say?
I believe parliament succeeds each other, and specifically the current speaker or the father of the house of the last parliament and the minority leaders and the majority leaders have not changed and were obviously intrinsic to the decision. My petition was not specifically to the First Lady, but I didn't understand in what circumstances Parliament had passed these recommendations, which on the face of it look probably unconstitutional. We've always had a situation in this country where the offices of First and Second Ladies have been supported at great cost to the state. You know, they have provided actual buildings, vehicles, staff, etc., all of which have been charged to the president's budget. And there's been no real worry about it. But the suggestion that they should then be paid personally, I think that was offensive in many ways, apart from it being unconstitutional. But if I could say something, the INTM's committee actually said, regularize this by bringing legislation to cover it. I have not seen any legislation that has been put forward before any kind of payments were made. So for me, that was the worry, that the informality which had surrounded these things for years was being repeated even in taking action on the matter of the current payments. I did congratulate the First Lady for returning the money. I think whoever drafted the letter that accompanied it was a little bit insensitive to the discussions that were going on. But it's a great gesture that the money was returned. We should continue to support the offices of incumbent First and Second Ladies. All the rest, I don't think I subscribe to paying wives of military leaders, widows of military leaders, etc., and paying First and Second Ladies post their leaving office. But as the professor said, whatever we want to do must be cast in law so that everybody is very clear as to what is happening.
So, beyond that, you're okay with it?
I've always been okay with supporting the offices of First and Second Ladies. Offices, not officers, not the personal payment. I think because if you look at how much we have spent on supporting the offices in terms of infrastructure and personnel and facilitating the work they do, I'm sure their personal salary wouldn't even be 4 or 5% of what the cost to the state of facilitating the office. And so it's unfortunate that something which appeared unconstitutional in terms of paying personal salaries for undefined jobs should cloud what we all believe should be support to the first and second ladies. Don't forget, in my view, the first and second ladies actually enhance the work of the president and vice president. And in that case, whatever benefit endure to the state also endures to the incumbent. If they do a very good job, people associate what they do with the incumbent's efficiency and all of that. But I think we should get away from this business of thinking that they are doing offices of state and must be paid for it.
So do you join those applauding the decision to refund?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I did actually, in one of my rare posts, congratulating the First Lady in my very, very poor gown. But I guess nobody took me up on it. I think they did very, very well in refunding allowances or salaries or whatever it was. It was a very, very good gesture. It was being sensitive to a situation where the country is facing a lot of hardships, both in terms of paying more taxes and prices going up, etc., etc. And the insensitivity of the elected officialdom who are supposed to be acting in our name and for our welfare, at this particular time, granting itself a lot of excesses which are really not necessary. And also, I applauded the actions of the two ladies. I think we should continue, but legalize and support the officers to ensure that whatever value they add to the work of the incumbent is maintained. Beyond that, I don't support any other payments.
So what do you say to those who say, well, this is just coming to our attention and we're getting very appalled at it, disgusted at it. But
no,
it has been happening.
I think people
it has been happening for years now. So should we retrace our steps back and get everybody else who has benefited from allowances, though not salaries at the time, to refund?
I don't think we should ask anybody to refund allowances. You are the lawyers, you talk about the retrospective effect of legislation, etc., etc. I think that what has been happening in an informal way, payment of allowances, I mean, the first thing you need to ask, whoever introduced these payments, did they do it on what legal basis? It was somebody's whim that started all these things. And the good professor has said, no, let's not act on whims. We have a constitution. We are guided by laws. Let us make these laws consistent with the constitution that we are operating. So the debate and the discussion about refunds, etc., I think is just the politics of what is going on. But I think where the whole committee crossed the boundary was the suggestion of paying salaries.
Okay.
So that I have a great difficulty with. But I don't think we should get into this business of refunds, etc.
All right. The TUC made a call. The statement that was signed by Dr. Yauba, the Secretary General, they said we would also like to advise the President to initiate a process towards the establishment of a commission made up of experts from various fields to advise government on salaries for all job holders in the entire public service to ensure fairness. The current system appears to favor politicians at the expense of other job holders in the larger public service in terms of salaries, allowances, and other job-related privileges. Under no circumstances should sections of the public service have unfair advantage over others in the same public service. The wrongs that have been perpetrated over nearly past 3 decades at the blind side of the Ghanaian taxpayer must stop now. Should we be setting up a committee? The Constitution Review Commission appears to have given us the blueprint, what we needed to do. They said this thing of I scratch your back, you scratch my back, that the President and Parliament have been doing on Article 71 is an incestuous relationship that is not good. And then Ghanaians met with the commission and told them that they didn't want this to continue. So they proposed an emoluments commission. What do you say?
I agree with both the GUC and the CRC. The problem we have is that neither has the weight of law. The GUC's call is not consistent with what the current Constitution says, and the Constitutional Review Commission's report has not been implemented. So I may agree with it, but the issue is, can it be done? I don't know whether the current powers that the president has for establishing committees is part of the entrenched provisions or how we change the Constitution. But on the face of it, I favor all those things.
Okay.
But can it be done in reality?
All right.
Maybe it's time that we actually either set up a commission to go through the CRC's report and try to implement it as necessary. But all these good things, it's one thing calling for it. It's another thing being able to do it.
All right.
I suspect a charitable president will expand the limits of their powers to ensure that maybe the current commission or committee that they establish, just as they asked that the Yang Chiama committee to look at how they regularize payments to former first ladies. They could also, after all, the committee is allowed to look at any other things. They could also smuggle in looking at relativities between elected officials and the general public, etc., etc. That's the only way that I can see it being done now. But in general, it's a good call.
All right.
A good recommendation from CRC.
All right.
But then
Dr. Rekrubobe asked a question. If you can help us quickly before Kokubaku comes in. The TUC's call, set up a committee or commission to review salaries of all public sector workers. Can it include Article 71 beneficiaries?
So strictly going by the Constitution, no, because under Article 71, it's an entrenched provision. So among others, you need a referendum, which will cost money. But Sam, let's not forget, we can also develop conventions, practices, and usages. So you can see a black and white letter of the law, but the people see that this law is inimical, so they will develop their own conventions around it. Let's take, for example, you know, when President Rawlings was in power, you know, when he fell out of Accra, they amended the Constitution so that the Vice President will not chair the Police Council. So there's an act, right? But as far as I understand, subsequent governments have allowed the Vice President to chair. Is that not so? Uncle Kpebu, is that
discretion, yeah.
Excellent. So that's a convention we are developing, because you see, the Supreme Court is inundated. And also, if you are talking about going for a referendum, it's going to cost money and all that. Let's develop conventions. All of us, we are very angry that, look, Article 71 is inimical to our development. We want to cut down. So we all can agree that, look, let's put this committee in place, and it will do their job. Unless
by an amendment, and like you notice, Chapter 8 is under... it's an entrenched provision, so you have to go for a referendum.
Yes.
Unless by an amendment through the lawful process, can a president decide that a commission looking at public sector wages in general will do an addition of Article 71 because I allow it, because they have the power to choose the committee, set up the committee.
Yes.
So they can say that committee should include it, and that'll be fine. But how will that bind the next administration?
So that's why I said it can, because don't forget, in all of this, as we keep talking about the law, there is a stronger force, which is the political mood.
Right.
So when one president has been in office and he's set up a committee that has reduced this and made the people happy, the people will not allow you to come and throw it out. So there's that political mood, the public opinion, which is very weighty. stronger sometimes even than the law, because that's how come sometimes you see that there's a clear provision, there's a crime, but depending on how public opinion is going, even the Attorney General will not dare to prosecute, right? Yeah, so let's utilize it well. We want to develop conventions, practices, and usages. It's not every time that we should spend millions of dollars going through a referendum. Let the president appoint. And you see, even in the Constitutional Review Commission, they said that the appointment itself, it doesn't give the committee the independence. So we should come up with another way of getting the appointment done. The president can see the power. That, look, I want to invite CSOs, the religious bodies and the rest, come together, put your heads together, bring me 5 people and I will appoint. It's done. The president should give up some of the power, because this constitution is too lopsided. Everything ends up on the desk of the president.
And that's a complaint of the TUC.
Excellent.